Yeah, so here we go again. Hi there, I'm Ben. This is Solo Therapy, my replacement for psychotherapy. Uh, Initially started due to my therapist being busy growing another human. Um, the date is Friday, the 15th of November 2024. The time is 32 past midnight. So, relative day references may be effed this entire one just because I'm still in Thursday's waking phase. Decided this here was important enough to stay up for a bit, and I wouldn't be able to sleep without having done this anyways. So starting to get my tea warm. I am actually more prepared than usual for this. Usually I just wing it, but there was some questions that came up uh, as a result of the last session. So I'm actually prepared with some notes. Yeah. Yesterday, Thursday that is, have been a highly productive day. First off, I managed to, not going to show the contents, but this is 22 pages of documents, and I'm going to hand them in later today for citizens' money. Oddly enough, 4 of those pages have not been requested, but I am most certain they would be requested soon enough, so I'll just provide them ahead of time. Otherwise, I'll be playing chase the ball for the rest of my time in citizens' money, and I can't do that because eventually I'm gonna need cash flow. Funny how that works, On the subject of cash flow, my mum was so kind as to give me another loan. It had been unsolicited, but I am, in the end of the day, happy to have it. I had to sleep over deciding whether to accept it or not. Today's tea is Gyokuro Nakatani again, my standard go-to posh Japanese green tea. There you go. There you go. Haha. We'll get on to why tea later on, I guess. Another thing I done yesterday is I actually cleaned up the entire back of the car. It was kind of an ADHD thing to be cleaning up the back of the car because I had not completed the collection of documents at that time, but I had one document that was in the car that I needed. While I was down there, I decided, let me clean this up. This is a mess, and I don't feel safe driving around with this continuously. Just because my load hadn't been proper secured. It went critical load, it was just tie downs and so on. But might as well have it nice, presentable and all. Which it now is. Also had over an hour long phone call with childhood neighbour and presumably lifelong friend. Thus far lifelong friend. I do not see a reason to change this. I'd done some laundry, though only one batch, but I'd done it completely including folding, which I am very proud to say. The laundry was just microfiber towels, which is what I collected when clearing out the car, because I believe I've bought 3 packets of them thus far total, 3 packages of these here microfiber towels. They're quite alright, but I had reached the point where I had more than 1 package worth of them in the car in a filthy state. So I decided I'd do the laundry, as one does. Grown up and all. With this paperwork, these 22 pages, oddly enough, when I measured them by weight, I only arrived at 21 and a bit pages, and I was going to round down. But just for the sake of it, I double counted. I actually counted them. Beforehand, I just weighed them out because I know it's 80 gram per square meter paper. I know it's DIN A4, so it's 2 to the 4 to my understanding. I believe, at least, of 1 over 2 to the 4 of a square meter. So I can know what one of these should weigh. Apparently, somewhere I've done an error because I came up 0.7 of a page short in weight, and that was before toner and ink. Glad I counted, I guess. Funny how that worked, Time for the first brew of tea, haha. Why tea? Let me get into that now, I guess. That's one of the subjects I've written down on my notepad. Well, notepad is generous, I guess. On my piece of paper I have used for notes. Oddly enough, with tea, the liquid is secondary to me, I guess. I mean, I certainly do like the taste of particularly this kind of green Japanese tea. It sits in the shade 21 days before it's harvested. It's also kind of the most expensive kind, well, the most expensive commonly available kind, which is not so great, but good news is I still have a supply, so I got quite a few more sessions of this before I'm running out of tea. To hamstering and stockpiling, I guess, you know. The magic of being prepared and having tea in your freezer. There's actually the original baggie they come in German, surprise. It's from my go-to tea shop, tea dealer, with an attached tea house, which is a significant, if not the major significant reason I am fond of tea and a tea ritual as such. Tea dealer's just really nice human. I like them very much so. In a brotherly way almost, though they are more than double my age. Rub it in, you know, haha. I just realised this light twisted. Sorry for that. Ugh. Oh well, you'll have to do with the light you got. So I'm partially in shade today. Oh no, real first world problems. Actually, I might be able to fix that on the go. That's the ADHD catching up again. Ah, that's better than nothing, I guess. There we go. Got the 3 point, you know. Back, key and fill. And my fill keeps failing, so that might not be a solution after all. Let me pause this. I'll be right back and continue telling you why I like tea for therapy. Come on, pause. There we go, I'm back. That's less bad now, I guess. Have a little shadow there, and fill's not quite, and the key's not quite. Is gonna suffice. Almost forgot where I put my tea mug. I just really like the tea dealer as a human, and I guess their approach to life have impacted my approach to tea due to them being somewhat of a mentor in tea consumption, for they told me how to do it and what the manners are. Ooh, you don't shake your curacao. I'll just need something to drip underneath. You don't do this when pouring out your liquid, because that's what the people in the city do. The Tokyo people, who have no time to wait for it to run out. You know, the minor things. I mean, even with what I just done, you can see I'm gripping this with one hand. That was taught by them. When I first done it, I'd done it like this, you know, but that's kind of meh. And it's just a one-hand deal. I really like them. I like what a tea ritual bring with it. Most of the tea I have consumed to this day was in the tea house, but, you know, being tight with dosh and liquidity and all, I'm drinking more tea at home, which means I'm getting to use up my stockpiles. They'd still be good for a couple of years, but, you know, at least I'm getting to get something out of the money I spent in the past. Past been spent, past been done me a solid. I guess another thing about tea I like is it's not mainstream, for all that may mean. For it can be my thing in my circle of people, in my circles of people I frequent, which is, I guess, something I like. You know, I'm the odd one out who bring a whole box of things to drink their tea. I actually done that at tea club, yeah, at film club a few times in the past. It's just, you know, nice to have a ritual, and yeah, okay, you got to take your time for it, but that's also what make it special. much in the same way as to why I'm still consuming nicotine in the form of tobacco. Uh, it's the idea of a ritual which, due to circumstances, forces you to take time. And with tea, for me, that's time to reflect, either in this form here, or what I've used it for in the tea joint in past, is self-improvement of the kind of doing my reading. Current reading I've mentioned in the past, but I'll mention it again. It's How to Know a Person by David Brooks. Apparently it's a 2023 book. I hadn't known that until very recently. I'm about 2/5 of the way through, but I don't read it easily. I don't read it kindly, just fly over the pages. For every so often, multiple times in between page turns, I ask myself, have I understood what I just read? And if the answer is not definitely yes, then I read it again. Just, it's almost studying in form of reading in form of studying, but that's just the way it is. Oh, for today's snacks, by the way, haha, I got short pastry biscuits. I guess Americans might call them cookies, of 2 varieties I've done. Done these myself because, flour's cheap, sugar's cheap, butter's not cheap, but you don't need that much, and in the grand scheme of things, it's still fairly cheap. Eggs aren't expensive. It's just the ingredients, you just got to mix them up and bake them. The 2 variants I got is Marmy Dodgers, kind of. It's like Jammy Dodgers, but with marmalade. And it's not round cutouts because I'd just done by the tray. It's just 2 layers of dough with a layer of marmalade in between. And just some with some sprinkles on top, some sugary sprinkles. Yeah, I quite like these. Reason I made them in the first place was because I was chewing my gums too much. Not chewing gum, but my actual gums, It's not good, which I am aware of, but my mouth needs something to do. And talking to myself if no one's listening and I'm not even recording it, it's kind of nah. So I end up chewing my gums, my nails, whatever. Every now and then I'll remember to buy some chewing gum or so. Currently I still have chewing gum in the car, but that is currently reserved for car only because it helps me reduce smoking while I drive. In the past 9 days, I've only driven on 2 of them, which is kind of crazy for my standards, I'd claim anyways. And in total on those 2 days, I consumed 10 cigarettes in the car, one of which was a 6 cigarette day. That was a long day because I'd done a lot of traffic and rush hour and so on, Probably was 4.5 hours in the car. So 7 cigarettes ain't that bad in the grand scheme of things. Disclaimer: consuming tobacco in form of burning it, in form of cigarettes, will give you cancer and will kill you. Question is just when. And if other circumstances in life, such as being organic, being human, kill you first. I wouldn't gamble on that killing me first, the being human bit. But you never know, Could go out on the road tomorrow morning to drop off this batch of documents about 5k away, which I'm not willing to walk 10k, 5 of which were critical documents, and be run over by a bus on my way to the car, which is parked on the other side of the 30 speed limit road out front. Odds are it's not going to be a bus there, but there's plenty of taxis and Ubers that frequent the area, and they speed like maniacs. Admittedly, this is somewhat of an excuse as to why I'm still smoking. Realistically, I am still smoking because I am human and I have weaknesses, and I am addicted. I'm addicted to you. No, wait, not Avicii. That's not Avicii. Who is that? I don't actually know. Oh well. Funny how that works, Let me just look at my notes. Oddly enough, tea is actually, at least by weight of the dry matter, by weight of this stuff here, you can't really see it like that, there we go, by weight of this stuff, it's more expensive than tobacco, even the premium most tobacco. At least this particular tea, because it's the expensive shit, you know. Then again, you don't consume it remotely as quick, because 2 roll-up, well, no, that's fat ones. 7 or 8 cigarettes of roll-ups do you a full brew of tea, a full 4 brews of tea, which lasts you well over an hour, but you also can't spend all day drinking tea, because eventually you'll need a toilet, and you'll need it really badly. You know, because it's still mostly water. Somewhere I recently seen the nutritional values for tea. Surprise. It's just about 0 of everything, at least within the rounding of the governing bodies that determine what you have to put on your labels. It's not much of a surprise, because it's basically water. I mean, you throw out most of the organic matter you put in your teapot and your kyosu after you're done. There's just some minor infusion that happens with the actual water, and just some of the water solubles, you know. It's kind of crazy how that works. My autistic journey. Fuck, this is going to be a loaded solo therapy session, but I might as well tackle it. First suspicions. I don't know if I ever proper had my own first suspicions, my proper own. But my parents, or my dad, disclosed to me suspicions at the age of approximately 13, plus minus, well, actually up to minus 2 years, I guess. So that would have been around 2011 till 2012-ish, ballpark. And my dad was most certainly, though never diagnosed, also autistic. Also of the variant which shall no longer be named with societal standards, and again, I'll still do it. Also Asperger's syndrome, which these days is just relabeled as highly functioning autism, which is not fair, because I don't feel like I'm highly functioning quite a lot of the time, you know. Particularly when I lay there, not being able to move, completely paralysed in the morning, because I overdone socialising the day before. Oh no, you know. The idea of things being named after Nazi party members, or people who worked for the Nazis, who done things for the Nazis, I think is quite BS, because in the end of the day, actually we can interlink this with another topic. So in the end of the day, an individual, in the grand scheme of things, this might be cancellation words, but fuck me, you know, cancel me if you need to. I'm trying to be as open as I can. If you see reason in that for cancellation, well, I guess there is a problem with society or with my head. If there is a problem with my head, please tell me. I'd love to know. But in the end of the day, the individuals have next to no power in such things. Obviously, there is individuals with power, and who use that power in malicious ways, to enrich themselves, etc., etc., push through their agendas. Which brings us to the rule following bit, which was another thing on my list there. In the end of the day, though, an individual such as me, for that is not in a position of power, does not have much a choice. I mean, yes, you can try to stand up. Odds are you'll either live a horrible life, which is the not so great case, or best case, you end up dead soon, due to unnatural causes. Then again, I am hoping to not ever be tested in that way in my life, and I like to think I'd be one of the ones to stand up, and certainly other people in my life seem to think such. But I'd rather not have to find out. You know. Ah. The reference to rule following was because the Nuremberg defense was mentioned previous comment. Thanks for the comment, Mike. And yeah, okay. In that case, you are basically the historic precedent for the Nuremberg defense, which was the Nuremberg trials. Surprise, which is how we got Godwin's law fulfilling, which is longer discussions go on the interwebs. The probability of the Nazi Reich, the Nazi Party, or National Socialism being mentioned increases to 1. That was basically heads, and I'm gonna have to excuse myself for a primary hygiene requirement. I hope I won't lose track. Yeah, sorry for that. I'm back. Humans have hygiene requirements, and some of those are primary in their nature. In the end of the day, I did actually have to cut because the phone screen locked for some odd reason. Who knows why? But I'll merge us back together and we'll see. In the end of the day, first off, with Godwin's law, I need to add, just because I rewatched the last few seconds before the cut, or Adolf H for obvious reasons. It doesn't have to be the Nazis. Adolf H is symbolic for the Nazis, to my understanding. But to my understanding, that was all parties in power. For generals of the military and so on. And as long as I am not in such positions, I didn't look this up, but I might just now, for the sake of completeness, didn't look it up for the sake of transparency of this being essentially one video. I believe that's a matter of Chesterton's fence, is why I believe to follow rules, but I have to confirm this. Chesterton's fence, there we go. Yes, I am correct. Great stuff. It's always nice when the interwebs confirm your suspicions. It's not for me rules that conflict with ethics or so. Those are far too significant to blindly follow rules. I'll admit that was hyperbole last week. Is more the daily issues, such as speed limits. For one can try to understand why a speed limit is in a certain place, for which reason or reasons. Or one can just do the Chesterton's fence way, thinking about it, and there's a speed limit there. There's probably a reason. I can't spend all day trying to understand every speed limit I come across, because I won't come across many if I try to. You'd probably get about two or three speed limits far in a day. Unless you take the obvious surface reasons like school, kindergarten, residential area, etc. But there is plenty of speed limit which is not explainable for obvious reasons. At least not where they are. Sometimes they could be 20 metres further back. But someone placed them there, and they did it for a reason. So that's, for me, the idea of rule following blindly. It does have the asterisks of some rules, assuming they do not conflict with your ethics. And for me personally, for example, I do not like to waste other people's time. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching this, by the way, and engaging in the comments if you do. Hi, Mum. Hi, other regulars. There is a few of you these days, actually. More than I can count on one hand. You wouldn't believe it. Bloody amazing. I keep looking over here because my notes are over here. That's kind of not great, so let me take them here. These notes aren't helpful anymore. Let me place them away. With a speed limit, there's no point in trying to understand it. The speed limit's there for a reason. And that is the kind of rules I mean to follow blindly, because though my ethics prohibit me from wasting other people's time, at the convention I was at before the last session, electronics convention, when I went up to a stand and they approached me, I told them right away, look, I'm not going to spend any money on your product, just so you know ahead of time. Not that you waste your time. That is, I guess, a crass level. And for me, it also comes in combination with the horrendous self-esteem. But I don't like wasting other people's time, to the point where occasionally I feel guilty for obeying speed limits. Speed limits of 10 kph if they're more than just a few meters. I feel so much social pressure of the queue of traffic building up behind me that I cannot obey. At least not for more than 10-20 meters, you know. Then again, those speed limits are the kind that are not supposed to really be placed anywhere besides the rarest of circumstances, which does not include main traffic adders during roadworks for 500 meters. City of Berlin. Oh yeah, I might as well tell you the time again because I've been gone for a moment with my primary hygiene requirement. The time now is 1:11 in the AM. The tea in my mug was a bit cold, but the one in the pot's still lukewarm, you know. So better than nothing, I guess. And lukewarm tea is fine as well. I mean, you can even cold brew these teas and it'll work. You've got to brew them a bit longer and they taste different, but you know, you can. In the end of the day, that's the blessing of not being in power for me. And why I don't think one could pay me enough to govern a country of people. For on my bucket list, I do have the idea of start a country, but the idea of starting is I do not have any citizens, which is far less responsibility. Realistically, that's just a fun thought experiment I have going on. I don't think that'll ever come to much because, you know, what's the odds of me finding land to found a country on in the first place within my lifetime? I mean, realistically, I'm constraining it to Earth because I'm not going to start founding anything anywhere else country-wise. And we have mapped Earth's land masses. I mean, there's a few uninhabited places one could claim, but realistically, the governments of those places won't be fond of you for very long, and they'll probably not even tolerate you. You know, it's just how it works. Then again, that's why I think one should hold elected and or appointed officials to a high standard. I'm not saying a higher standard, but a high standard for... do I mention? Yeah, I can mention the country is not too critical. There is more than 20 people who it could have been. For the first of the days I was driving the past 9 days, which would have been Tuesday. Did I leave the house yesterday? I don't know, but last I'd driven through central town at a junction with 4 lanes, one turning left, one turning right, and 2 headed straight. I was in the right turning lane, on the very front of the queue. Up next to me pulled a black Merc, belonging to the embassy of a country starting with Q. There we go, that's all I'll say. With their indicator set to right, for they have diplomatic immunity. They aren't going to get a fine. And this is where I wish I'd be a stronger human and not as petty, but I'm working on it, you know. Forgive me, it's work in progress. I'm only a quarter century old. I'm working on it. But I didn't let them in front of me because I'd waited for 3 cycles for that light and I didn't want to have to sit behind them. Admittedly, they were going to continue speeding after, so, you know, surprise. But I just took the furthest arc because it is my right. And they had to wait, and oddly enough, they had the audacity to honk their horn, which I found interesting because in the end of the day, they were the one in the off position. They were in oncoming traffic, to my understanding even. Not strictly oncoming. They weren't hindering anyone beside the people behind them. Oh great, only one of 2 straight lanes, you know. And I wish I weren't as petty, and that's really something I need to work on. But in cases like that, I think, come on. You are sent as one of the representatives of your country, starting with Q. Bloody act the part, will you? I mean, yeah, okay. In your country, you might not have been appointed by someone elected, but you've still been appointed by someone in power, which gives you responsibility. And that responsibility is not all, oh, I have diplomatic immunity, I can speed doing 45 kph in a 30. Oh, and then I'll have to stop for the red light because I don't want to run over people, because that'll get me thrown out of diplomatic immunity by my own country soon enough. You know, it's just, I don't get it. I mean, if you're sent somewhere to represent your country, you'd want to represent your level's best. And I have a really hard time believing that human did their level best, because, yes, okay, they might have missed the right turning lane ahead of time, but they could have gone straight and turned right just down the road and they would have ended up in the same place. So I have a really hard time, even though I want to believe it, I can't do the mental gymnastics to actually believe it, that this person was doing their level's best. And that's kind of a bummer for me, because I want to believe in people doing their level's best. It's kind of hopeless optimistic, I guess. But people like that make it really hard. And in that case, they had an elevated responsibility, in my opinion. Not higher standards, but the same standards as everyone else, more so. Time for more snacks. I have wondered, though I do realise it's not going to be productive, particularly considering how inefficient I am at doing bureaucracy. It's going to be a straightforward waste of my life's hours, which means I'll probably never end up doing it, but I can still wonder about it as a thought experiment. Which is to some of the countries which are frequent offenders in traffic, which I witness being frequent offenders in traffic, writing a letter as a concerned citizen of the city to their ambassador, because I actually think one might get through to an ambassador. I mean, yeah, they are high up there for the representatives of that country within this country, but there is a lot of people who are on the same level as them in comparison to their heads of state. So one might actually get them to read one's letter. It's not going to change nothing, but still, you know, one may hope in one's thought experiments. And I'd love to be able to see change, but realistically, I myself am too little a force to change anything. This is the same as the idea of a Nuremberg defence. The other way, though. I'm trying to change it for the better, and I am not capable. Nothing I can do will make people not speed. Particularly people with diplomatic immunity, but realistically in this city, 95% of participants in traffic, including cyclists. There is nothing I can do, which is kind of a bummer, you know. I mean, yeah, it might be fucking great to govern all these people. Then again, I don't know if I'd want to cater to the responsibilities. But, you know, that's something I'll never find out if I never try. Then again, odds are I might never try, for fear of failing makes me not try things. I actually have one more major topic. I am just wondering if I ought to take a break for primary hygiene requirement, because I am noticing one coming up. Considering I have to stitch this already anyways. I'll be back with the last major topic for this session. Momentarily, I'll probably give you the time though, when I'm back. See you in just a moment for you. Yeah, okay, we're back. I believe I shan't have any more primary hygiene requirements. Might have eaten something off yesterday, who knows. The time now is 1:41 in the AM. Date is still the same. Luckily, hasn't taken that long, but I did have some technical issues, some technical difficulties with getting the mic to work, or it might have been the audio playback on the phone, I'm not actually sure, but a reboot fixed it, so let's hope it actually works. The most recent mic check did, so you know, That's all I can hope for. I can't actually see if this has audio. We'll have to find out. Would be a shame if it didn't though. I'd have to cut it if it were, but nah, really wouldn't want to. Let's make another tea. Haha. The last major topic I have for this session, I have saved for the slate. So thank you very much for sticking around, and thank you very much for watching, listening, whatever way you consume this. Thank you very much. It truly means the world to me. The last topic is in regards to career coaching and my future career, I guess. I had my first appointment for career coaching this Tuesday. Yes, this Tuesday. And it went alright. We just did data synchronization, so I brought all my school-wise year report and so on. They scanned some of them, to prepare curriculum and blah de blah. Fine by me. And then they speculated a bit on what jobs they'd get me, and it appears they're only considering office jobs. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. Not too fond of that. The next appointment is, I believe, Tuesday. Actually, I can check it on the watch. Nope, that's Saturday. We have plans for that. I'll mention that as well. This is the same topic, but still. Yeah, next Tuesday I got my next appointment, which is going to be a photo shoot for a CV/cover letter. So curriculum vitae / cover letter. And apparently my regular, in my opinion, fancy dress, not this t-shirt, but a dress shirt. I'll show it to you right after I've poured this tea. Is not fancy enough for the standards, so they'll have me wear something out of their collection, which really makes me think they want to get me an office job, and I've made my best effort to communicate to them. Bureaucracy is an absolute nightmare. You cannot pay me enough to do bureaucracy. Of course, yes, I may not be bad at it, but in the end of the day, if a real hour feels like 5 hours for me, for it to be viable as a career path, I want 5 hours of compensation, which is not going to happen in a free market. This is a shirt I usually wear as part of my uniform these days. In my eyes, is fancy enough, I mean, they thought it had too many pockets and was too heavy a cloth. I quite like it because I don't like feeling like I'm naked when I'm wearing a shirt. And I need the pockets because I have things that go in pockets, because I do not carry a handbag. So I'm kind of split about that. And another thing that caused me to be split about that is what I just mentioned. My appointment on Saturday is to visit and talk with a potential future employer. Currently, it's very much so potential, hypothetical. There is no office. But I was their first choice to call for this round of hiring, and they prefer not doing a proper application, which I'm fine with. They would have signed me on already if it went for the autism, which I understand from their perspective. It's an unknown variable. I'm open enough with it, so they knew ahead of time because they knew me from my former place for internship. My former place for internship is a customer of theirs. And I reckon, there's no point in hiding things, because if they then later find out and they don't like it, great. You have a not so great relationship, so you might as well be open about things like that, in my book at least. I understand society does not work this way, but just because other people speed don't mean I have to. And that would be a role the job would be examiner for electronics used in commercial spaces, according to German legal accidental insurance regulation free 0701/0702, which is anything with Niederspannung, so minor, small voltage, so between 50 and 1000 volt DC, no AC, and between 50 and 1500 DC. Realistically, most everything will be 230 AC, and some things will be 400 AC. Usually you don't see DC that high because, you know. I guess for some EDM machines or so you might see some DC like that, but I don't actually know what voltage they operate on. That job would bear a lot of responsibility. In my eyes, the pay compensates for that adequately. It is not in a field that I am educated in, but should that become a realisable offer for both parties, realistically, I'm not 100% on it, but I'd probably more than 50% likely take an offer if I got one. They'd pay for my education I need, and realistically, I don't actually need any education because my dad did a good chunk and I've done a good chunk myself. So, you know, it's just basic electronics, it's not rocket science. For some people, it's just about the same. That's completely unrelated to the wiring I'm doing on the car, by the way, because that is, I changed it from minor to small because I needed the minor, which is 0 to 50. That is only minor voltage. It's 5 volts. It's not mission critical. It can't do much, you know. So that's completely separate. Wouldn't be related besides the fact that it's copper wires. But, you know, for me, it's not rocket science. I'm privileged enough to have enjoyed an upbringing where I was communicated basics of electronics. Very privileged to be so. Obviously, it's not a field I'm educated in formally, which means I still have to get the certifications, which would entail 2 weeks of schooling. Good news is I'd probably get away with doing those 2 weeks without homework. So, you know, I'm not going to really complain. I am way too invested in this hypothetical for being hypothetical at this time. Then again, I like regulations, so I've known all these regulations ever since I first came into contact with them, which was more than half a year ago. It's kind of funny how that works, you know. It's just making sure you got your earth and the connection's good, and that the insulation on the conductors are good enough, so you don't get sparking or arcing, which is fair enough, you know. I mean, you don't want sparking or arcing because that causes fires. Best case, I guess. Worst case, it kills people. We're just having this meeting on Saturday because they that would be my respective boss should that happen, profusely apologise, but they do not have time during the week. And I said, oh, for me it's all the same. Currently every day I have is weekend. I am very open about everything, I guess. I understand in a capitalistic society is not especially to my benefit, but for the lack of quality of judgment I have in humans, I like to look on the bright side. I believe they are of a good character, and I trust them quite a bit. So, you know, fair enough. That'd be something interesting. And I'd wonder how to juggle that with the career coaching, because I am very happy to do the career coaching. And should this potential hypothetical realise, my employer would also be open for me continuing said coaching while doing the job for their benefit as well, because it integrates me into society further, which they are right with, you know. I mean, it's the point of the coaching in the first place. The only thing is they wouldn't have to get me a job with the coaching place. That's something I'd have to figure out then. I may very well bring this up with the coaching people on Tuesday, and I may well not. I'll probably just tread lightly in the waters and see what the currents are. If they're totally opposed to me doing outside things, then I won't continue mentioning it. and I'll just drop them like a hot potato. Though I'm fully invested in it, or I was, should such an offer realise, as in I have a contract, I'm very much so looking to taking it, because in the end of the day, becoming such an examiner is a hard place to get your foot into the door off, and I'd be grateful. And I'd probably be good. They also think I would be, my respective boss, that is. Otherwise, they wouldn't have called me. They have no concerns whatsoever about the quality of my work. They've convinced themselves of me doing good work. The only thing is the interhuman aspect, which I understand. In the end of the day, they do have to run a business, and the autism is an unknown variable. I don't think it's going to be problematic. They are open to it not being problematic, which is why we're meeting on Saturday, you know. It's magical. Saturday actually reminds me of another thing. I know I said that was going to be the last major topic, so I guess this is a minor topic, haha. Or a small topic perhaps even. But a post-term inflation good friend of mine, prior to term inflation they might have only been a friend, I'm not sure, but they're certainly edging the prior to inflation good friend, have split up with their significant other. They are of the opposite sex as to me, so they're female, which means they do not wish my close support, which is fine by me, I guess. So I'll just be driving them with their things from their former significant others to their place on Saturday after I've met a potential future employer. I wish I could offer more support and all, but hell, I mean, if I'm of the wrong sex to be giving the support, there's nothing I can do about that, you know. Good news is they got friends of the same sex who can support them, so that's the way it is. Magical. This is not a new topic, it's just closing up the initial topic. First off, thank you very much for sticking around watching this. It truly means well to me. Truly does. Thank you very much. Closing the first topic, which was why tea for therapy, which is likely the title for this. During tea ceremonies, I am the closest I come to inner peace, to my understanding at least. I mean, without neurochemical interactions with substances, I guess. I mean, tea do have some interactions, but I don't prescribe the effect of tea ceremonies on the tea. It's just the ritual for me, really, the ceremony. I mean, if I smoke hella joint, I might get the same kind of feeling, but it's not worth it, particularly considering I like driving in my car. Cigarettes can come close to it, but they don't last as long. So, yeah, it's because I am close to inner peace, which I guess is a bloody good thing. I mean, hell, I'm not one to complain. And the sad thing is, here I am running out of things to say, and I still have 2 more brews of tea going, you know, so I'm probably just going to sit here, put some thingies in my ears, and watch a bit of YouTube. And then hopefully go to bed and sleep well. I hope when it is time for you to sleep, you'll also manage to sleep well. I'll see you around. Stay safe. Cheerio.